Comanche Gonzalez, okay? And my middle name, El Comanche, came about because uh, since I was a kid, we have been doing some Comanche dancing and all that. And as I went to school, the kids used to call me Tranquillo. And then there was a guy here, very well respected man, that we went into uh, a bar in town, and he was having a beer. We went in to have a beer, and other guys came in and said, Tranquillo. And he says, no, no, no. Este Comanche, yo soy Comanche. So since then, it's been about probably 40, 50 years now that I've had that name Comanche. So then I got involved in politics. So, and at that time, you had to put your name as it, not as it's written in your registration. Now it's got to be the way you register to vote. But at that time, they required it to be your birthday, so, or your legal name. So I had to change to legalize it. And actually, I was baptized as Eduardo, so in El Comanche, it fit just fine. I just get E or El Comanche. So that's the way it worked. And that's sort of a brief story and about why I'm called El Comanche. Well, every year on New Year's Day, we are a Genízaro community. This Genízaro community was set was initialized. Documentation to its initialization was done when Jose Diego Romero accepted our land grant, and they did the transaction of Cristóbal de la Serna land grant, and in our documents at the courthouse. And I was hoping I would have been able to bring you a copy of that so you could have read it yourselves. But it says there, Jose Diego Romero and Genízaros, and meaning that they were Hispanicized Indians. These Genízaros were the ones that settled this community. And this community was a buffer zone to the house. And there, now you're almost to a point that you can't tell the difference where Rancho starts and where it ends, And but we, excuse me, we comprised of several numerous little communities here. Up there, and this over there, there's Llano Quemao, okay? And that was a community of itself, and then right where I live is and west of there is Talpa. And then down here, as you go on the highway down that way, we have La Cordillera. And then way down there, not way down there, but about 2 miles down, you have Los Cordobas. But in between, you have homes that, so only the people here will know, yo no sé comienza La Cordillera, and yo no sé comienza Los Cordobas or Talpa and Ranchos. Yeah, and sometimes, like my wife says, they ask her, where are you from? Ranchos. We don't want to say we're from Talpa because the Talpa, their nickname is Brujos. so we say, and the ones in Llano Quemado, they call them Chaquehueros. The ones in Los Cordobas, they call them Tordos. And the ones in the Cordillera. And they call them Tordos because of that black bird. And then the predominantly, there used to be a family of very dark complected individuals down there. So, it's how people, at that time, they just set the nicknames for everybody. So, but the reason it's called Llano Quemao is that we originate with the people that came here, came from El Quemado, okay? El Quemado is Córdoba, New Mexico today. And they came across and they stopped in Picuris, and they met a few young ladies there, and they said, órale, come on over, let's go across the mountain. And they came across, and then they acquired the Cristóbal de la Serna land grant. The Cristóbal de la Serna land grant initially was given to Cristóbal de la Serna, who was a soldier in the Spanish army, and he could not maintain the mandate set upon him, so therefore he sold it, okay, or it was sold to the Romeros, and it was considered to be a private land grant. However, all that llano and that mountain back there, all that was used as common lands. And unfortunately, in 1941, the state of New Mexico came in and set the 1941, they did the 1941 survey, they call it. And so from there, everybody's been basing their lands, or they, but it doesn't because they don't have a color of title when it goes up that way. Basically, because of that, it was common land. But anyway, when the 1941 survey came in, they made what they call líneas. And a linea comprises of about 33 inches, each linea, okay? But it's a linea that's 5 miles long. So in a linea that's 5 miles long, the assessor assesses that piece of property as 5 acres, okay? Well, as years progressed, initially there were wide lineas, but one family would, let's say a family would say have 6 kids. Well, they divide their let's say they had 40 lineas. They divided the 40 lineas by 6, and each one of the children got a the equal amounts. Then those families, they had kids, and they did the same thing with their thing. So now we have people that live in Utah or elsewhere, and they've been assessed for 5 acres, you know, and they want to sell it as 5 acres, but it's not 5 acres in a sense. Like you could square it off because they cannot be squared. They're lineas. And we have a hell of a time trying to get people to understand that, and they can't, because we're all, you know, we now live in a society that's, hey, don't step on that, that's mine, you know. But now they can't, no one, it's difficult to designate which is your piece of linea over there by the majority of people. But there are those land speculators, I call them, that, and those who have a little more money than others, including Hispanics, okay? And what they're doing is abarcando. They're taking, you know, they're actually land grabbers, you know, and they're taking possession of land that really doesn't belong to them, but they do a survey, then they put a quiet title on it, and then, hey, it's mine. You didn't protest it. But who in the hell is going to put $10,000 to protest a linea of 5 acres that comprises 5 acres? And they can't build anything on it. So the winner is the guy that's doing the quiet title and the guy that's doing the survey, because the ones that are really adjacent to him, they're not going to protest or se quedan en eso. And that's basically the story of our. And this church here, I don't know, you went inside already, yeah? Well, as you saw the Herreros in there, they have a long history, you know, dating back to the Spanish colonial time. And then inside the church over there, they have what they call a picture of the painting they call it. And you see it and you see the image of Christ, etc. But then when they shut off the lights, you see a cross, and you know the Good Shepherd shows a cross. So it's a they call it a miracle because they have now been able to detect what kind of, why it does that. What there's a paint that was used, you know, that you could have used to cause that. And according to those who have done the research and taken it, little pieces of paint, etc., to find out, they have not been able to, so they don't know exactly why there is that shadow that comes up after they shut up the lights. You know. But those are the interesting things here. This community here, that inside here, this plaza here, used to be a cemetery. You know, we still have a few stones over there, but they used to be over here when I remember, but now they changed it over there because nobody knows. Nobody knows who was buried here now. And they also used to bury in the church, and that was for the ones that were more Catholic. Yeah. Well, they're closer to Christ, closer to God. By the way, I am a Catholic, but I don't mind joking about our church either. But you guys, I'm sure, know the history that, you know, Catholicism wasn't that good to the Native American here, you know. I mean, and there's those who contend that one of the reasons we have the Virgen of Guadalupe to be, you know, a patron saint to many of us is because it's the brown Virgen, right? And that's what they needed down there to have the masses of the Indianness of the people to accept Catholicism, because they accepted their Aztec gods, you know. And they say that, you know, that the Virgen, you see the Virgen of Guadalupe and then you see the rays behind it. Those are the sun rays, and that those what it means symbolically is that the Virgin appeared and it covered the sun. So the only thing that you could see was just its rays, and consequently, that in the minds of those, it said that in the minds of the Indians of that time, that they said that the Virgin was a greater god to them than the sun, because the sun was their god. So then they started becoming, that started the wave of Catholicism. But the way I look at it is this: there's another story that it says that when el padre venía estaba bautizando a los indígenas, ¿no? Les decía, indio infeliz, you know, crees, and they'd go to the river and dunk him in the water. Sí, tatita padre, sí creo. Dunk him again. Indio infeliz, crees. Sí, tatita padre, sí creo. Le dijo el padre, pero cheque esto que cree este boy, ¿no? Y luego, indio infeliz, ¿qué crees? Tatita padre, yo creyendo el indio infeliz que tú quieres ahogarme. So, you know, so that's what he... That's another one. You guys. But anyway, that, so as far as myself, you know, and my family, and